Good morning, my name's Mark, I'm from TMS Kia. I'm our product specialist and I just wanted to show you around our all-new Niro EV. So I've just recently had it delivered from Kia themselves. A bit like the HEV video that I did a bit earlier on. Just wanted to show you a few of the things. So you can see the heartbeat lights that are built into the car here. Now they're your daytime running lights, but also they act as your indicators as well, which has this lovely heartbeat signature. And as we move around, one of the big differences you'll notice between this and the HEV is the charging point at the front. So as I open this up, you can see there that you've got your Type 2 charging port, but also your combined charging socket, which you would use at main service stations. And also you can see your battery level indicator on there as well. So when it's on charge, you can see whether it's 20, 50 or above 70% charging whilst you're outside the vehicle. Now, one thing to note is that the car, if it's locked, the charging ports will be locked too, but also if you have the cable plugged in charging, they will be locked in unless you turn them off and unlock the car yourself. Now, as I go around the car this way, you'll also notice the 17-inch alloys, designed very differently to HEVs. These are again to add to the aerodynamics of the car, but also to give pretty good styling to the car as well. And as we go around, this one is the 2 spec, but even on the 2 spec, you're actually going to get keyless entry into the car. So again, no having to actually put the key in. And then, as I've talked about with the HEV, it's even more important with the EV itself, is you have the aerodynamic C-pillar. So what that does, it has vents built in here and also on the back. Now, not only is it going to help with your soundproofing, give it a more premium feel to the back of the car, but actually, as it's an EV, it really does help with the range. So we estimate around about 15 miles extra per battery is what you'll gain by the aerodynamic pillar being built into the car. And then as we come around the back into the boot itself, you'll actually notice that I've got the Type 2 charging lead here, which you would use if you were plugging in it at a place of work or at your home, or into anything but the fast charging cable. So if you're using a CCS socket, that would also would have what they call a tethered connection. So you won't need your cable for that because it has its own built-in one. And also more eco-friendly parcel shelf. So the idea is that this will go into the car and it will fit in up here. Like so. Now that will give you your parcel shelf in the car, so not only does it help with the noise reduction when you are driving along, but also if you are fitting things in the boot which would normally stick up a bit more, it will actually push the mesh up rather than having to just remove the parcel shelf. And if you are filling the boot up, no longer will you need to take the parcel shelf out and put it in your house or your garage or your shed and forget about it for ages. You can simply just fold it up, pop it into the very handy bag with Kia supply, and then that can go in the car itself. So not only are you going to get your luggage in there, but your parcel shelf still remains in there as well. Now with the EV as well, you also do get the multi-level loader as well. So I can actually pop that in and have the boot a bit taller. So if I am putting anything precious in the car, I've got space to do that in the boot. And the one thing you will notice is that with the EV, we have done away with the partial painted floor of the boot. We've actually fabricated it, so if you are putting things in there like laptops, anything like that, they're not going to get scratched either. And it gives it a bit more of a premium car feel again. And then while this is the 2 spec, you will notice you have got the rear camera built in and also the rear sensors as well. And then just to mention, You also have got these boomerang shaped rear tail lights, which are taken from the Sportage, just to add it into the range with obviously our new slogans. Now, as I move around to the driver's side, the one thing I would like to show you is different to the HEV, which will have a normal gear stick. This has got the shift by wire, so you get the little dial in the middle. This has got the smaller screens, which still support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you'll also notice you've got the EV6 inspired steering wheel, give you a better feel and also slightly better control on the road as well. And you'll notice the way the door cards have this really nice sloping effect with your window buttons, your central lock-in, and also your mirror adjustments on there as well. So, hope you've enjoyed it. Any questions, please do let me know, and we'll take it out in a minute and do a road test. Thank you very much. Right, thank you for joining me for the drive. This is actually the first time I'm actually driving the new Niro EV. And actually, I have to say, I'm rather impressed. They've made a few small tweaks to the vehicle, not just cosmetically, but also to the driving itself. So the previous Niro was 397 Newton meters of torque, which is how fast the car pulls, and they've reduced that down to 255. However, the car still maintains the same sort of performance as you'd get from the previous Niro, but without the wheel spin. So if you are a previous Niro or Soul EV customer, you'll be aware that when you do try and take off a bit too quick, you'll get loads of wheel spin and not really move. With this, it tends to be the reverse. You don't get any wheel spin, but you move. So actually, it's quite a nice tweak to the way that it drives, helps it to feel more smooth, more luxurious to drive. But also by having the EV6 inspired steering wheel, actually makes it effortless to drive. That coinciding with the fact that you don't have any sort of engine noise at all. I haven't got the radio on, so there's a tiny bit of road noise, but again, thanks to the aerodynamic C-pillars, that is reduced by quite a lot. And if anything, it wasn't for me talking, it'd be quite a quiet drive. Having said that, again, from the EV6, we have changed the way that the dials look. So you now have this screen which is right in front of you, which will display not only your revolutions per minute and your speedo, but also your battery range, which is quite clearly down there on the left-hand side in this nice purple colour. But also, because I've got the brake regeneration, I've got the dial for that down there on the right, again just in purple on the needle so that I can see where it actually is. And then, as this is a 2-spec, I do have the smaller screen for the radio, which does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so not having nav built in isn't a big thing because I can just plug my phone in and do it that way. If you go for the 3 and the 4 spec, you will get the bigger display, which will take up more of the plastics that are here. But as you can see from EV6, Sportage, and now in Niro, we now have the new Multimode Display, which will control your radio and all your heating controls all in one panel. Now you can, with that panel, if you would prefer to have it on the infotainment system or the climate, you can hold the button down for 5 seconds and then select it. What that will do is every 30 seconds it will default back to the screen that you'd set, so that while you're driving along you can be confident it's either selecting your radio stations or selecting your heating. And then you've got this nice piano black cluster in front of you, which has got your shift by wire gear stick. My power button is nicely placed, and again, if you go for the higher specs, the black buttons here would have your heated seats, heated steering options, if that's something you prefer. And then you've got the electronic handbrake down here. So if you aren't keen on letting the car automatically take the handbrake on and off, you can manually do it there. And you'll also notice the cup holders have been slightly changed, and that the way they sit into the centre console has changed to give it more room. When you pull back the cup holders, I've now got more room, and when you lift the armrest up, again, you've got enough space there to place a bag if you wanted to, if you're on your own, so it's not just on the floor. And then with the newly designed wing mirrors, you can actually see quite a lot more of what's behind you, and a lot clearer as well, which is always an added bonus. But then you've got the angled shape so that they're not just square at the end, so that it's not blocking your visibility so much past the mirrors. But again, as I mentioned earlier with the door cards, I really like the way that the door cards slope down, because now if I'm trying to find window buttons or the central lock-in, because they gradually go up, I can actually find the ones I want quite easy. So overall, the drive of the Niro HEV was very impressive anyway, but the EV just adds that extra feel, and also of course I'm not using any fuel, which is great. So I'm not producing any carbon emissions onto the road. And when you look at fuel prices, the electric is very cheap when you compare it towards a petrol or diesel, especially if you are doing longer distance journeys. So I would quite happily go out and buy one of these. Thank you for watching the video with me. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact with TMS Kia. Thank you very much.